I've built 72-hour continuity plans for Fortune 500 companies for 2 decades. Banks, hospitals, data centers, places where downtime costs millions per hour. Today, I'm going to show you how to build one for your household. No gear reviews, no tactical equipment, just the same framework I used when a CEO asked me, "What happens if we lose power for 3 days?" Except now it's your kitchen, not a corporate campus. Here's the thing most people get wrong. They build a 72-hour kit like they're packing for a camping trip. Flashlights, freeze-dried food, Mylar blankets. And when an actual emergency hits, a winter storm, a grid failure, a house fire, they realize they forgot the only things that actually matter. Insurance cards, medication lists, a way to charge your phone so you can actually call your insurance company. I'm going to walk you through what belongs in a 72-hour kit that's built for real emergencies, not YouTube fantasies. Let's get into it. So here's how we approach this in corporate disaster recovery. We don't start with gear. We start with a threat assessment and 3 critical questions. 1. What am I trying to survive? Not zombies, not societal collapse. The actual disasters that affect households every year. Power outages, evacuations, medical emergencies, house fires. 2. What documentation do I need to recover? Because in 72 hours, you're not rebuilding civilization. You're filing insurance claims, accessing bank accounts, proving you own your house, and getting prescriptions refilled. 3. What's my single point of failure? In corporate terms, that's the one thing that breaks your entire operation. In your house, it's usually your phone, or your wallet, or knowing where anything important actually is at 2 a.m. when you're evacuating. Let me tell you what this looks like in practice. A few years ago, I consulted for a hospital system on their evacuation protocols. Millions of dollars in equipment, detailed staff procedures, backup generators, the works. You know what almost broke their entire plan during a real evacuation? Nobody could find the master list of which patients were on which floors. It was on someone's computer, which was locked, in a building they'd just evacuated. The billion-dollar facility was fine. The $50 spreadsheet was the problem. That's what I mean by professional planning versus hobbyist planning. And that's exactly what's wrong with most 72-hour kits. Alright, let's build this thing. I'm going to break it into 3 tiers, just like we do in business continuity planning. Critical, essential, and comfort. Tier 1. Critical. The stuff that determines if you recover. This is your emergency binder. If you take nothing else from this video, build this. Inside a waterproof document sleeve you need photocopies of your driver's licenses and passports, insurance cards and policy numbers, homeowners, auto, health, life, bank account information, and 1 credit card you don't normally carry, medication list with dosages and pharmacy info, pet vaccination records, if you have animals, deed or lease to your home, 1 emergency contact list with actual phone numbers, written down, because when your phone dies, you will not remember your brother-in-law's cell number. I can already hear some of you saying, "That's just paperwork, not survival gear." You're right, it's better than survival gear. Because here's what actually happens in the first 72 hours after a disaster. You're not fighting off looters. You're on hold with your insurance company. You're at a Red Cross shelter that won't take your dog without proof of rabies vaccination. You're trying to withdraw cash, but you can't remember your account number because it's saved in an app on your dead phone. Remember when we were latchkey kids, and our parents just left us a phone number written on the fridge? That worked in 1985 because everything was written down. In 2026, everything's in the cloud, which is great, until there's no power to reach the cloud. Your emergency binder is your household's disaster recovery documentation. In my corporate work, we call this the continuity book. Same concept, different scale. Tier 2. Essential. The stuff that keeps you functional. Now we get to the actual gear. But notice we're doing this second, not first. Power. 1 good power bank, fully charged, replaced annually. Not 5 flashlights. 1 power bank that can charge your phone 3 times. Your phone is your camera, flashlight, communication tool, and documentation tool. Keep it alive. Medications. 72-hour supply of anything you can't skip. Not a first aid kit full of band-aids. Your actual prescriptions, in their original bottles with labels. Because when you show up at an emergency pharmacy, they need to see exactly what you take. Cash. $200 in small bills. When payment systems go down, and they do regularly, you need paper money, not $200 in hundreds, 20s, 10s, 5s. Nobody can make change in an emergency. Water and food. Here's where I disagree with the prepper community. You don't need freeze-dried meals in your 72-hour kit. You need 3 days of stuff you'll actually eat from your regular pantry, rotated every few months. Protein bars, peanut butter, crackers, stuff that doesn't require cooking because you might not have power to cook it. Communication, a way to charge devices without grid power, small solar panel or hand-crank charger, a printed list of important numbers, a battery-powered radio. This isn't sexy, but in every real disaster, communication is what separates orderly from chaotic. Tier 3. Comfort. All right, now we can talk about the stuff that makes 72 hours bearable instead of miserable. Change of clothes and basic toiletries. Blanket or sleeping bag if you're somewhere cold. Work gloves, because you'll probably be moving debris or dealing with broken glass. Entertainment for kids if you have them. Not an iPad that'll die, but actual books or cards. Copies of important photos or heirlooms, digitized on a USB drive. Notice what's not in here. Tactical gear, bug-out equipment, MREs, survival knives, fire-starting equipment. Why? Because in a real 72-hour scenario, you're in one of 3 places. Option 1. You're in your home without power. You're not building fires in your living room. You're eating from your pantry and waiting for the utility company. Option 2. You're evacuated to a shelter or hotel. They have food and heat. You need documents and money. Option 3. You're at a friend or relative's house. Same thing. You need your medications and insurance info, not survival rations. The bug-out in the woods scenario? That's not a 72-hour event. That's a completely different planning category. I spent 20+ years preparing organizations for realistic scenarios. You know what I never planned for? The scenario where the corporate headquarters evacuates to the forest and builds shelters from paracord. We planned for relocating to a backup facility, working from home, communicating with clients, accessing backup data, recovering operations. Same logic applies to your household. Here's the last piece most people miss. Accessibility. Your 72-hour kit needs to be in a grab-and-go location, not in the attic, not in the back of a closet, somewhere you can reach in the dark, in a panic, in 60 seconds. I keep mine in a small rolling carry-on near my front door. Same bag I'd use for a weekend trip, because that's exactly what this is. A weekend away from home. Except you didn't plan it. Corporate continuity plans have something called go bags for essential staff. It's literally the same concept. Documents, devices, essentials, pre-positioned so when the alarm goes off, you grab and go. In Fortune 500 disaster recovery, we test these plans annually. You should too. Once a year, do a walkthrough. Can you find your kit in under 2 minutes? Are the documents still current? Is the power bank still charged? Are the medications still in date? Does everyone in the household know where it is? This isn't paranoia. This is the same annual drill I ran for companies with thousands of employees. Let's talk about what this actually costs, because I know some of you are thinking, I don't have money for emergency supplies right now. The emergency binder, free. You're photocopying documents you already have. The power bank, $30 to $50, replaced every couple of years. Cash reserve, $200 you're setting aside, not spending. It stays in the kit. 3 days of shelf-stable food. You're buying stuff you already eat, just buying a bit extra and rotating it. Total incremental cost to build a professional-grade 72-hour kit, under $100. Compare that to what most prepper channels tell you to buy. Freeze-dried food buckets, tactical flashlights, water filtration systems, hundreds or thousands of dollars of gear. Here's the reality. I've seen billion-dollar companies recover from hurricanes using plans that cost less to implement than a single tactical backpack. It's not about gear. It's about thinking through what you actually need, documenting it, and positioning it correctly. That's the difference between professional planning and hobbyist planning. So that's your 72-hour kit from a risk management perspective. Critical documentation first, essential functionality second, comfort items third. Same framework I've used for 2 decades in corporate continuity planning, just scaled down from a company campus to your front hall closet. Your homework. Start with the emergency binder this weekend. Get those documents copied and in a waterproof sleeve. That alone puts you ahead of 95% of households. Everything else can be built over the next month. Next video, I'm breaking down the conversation nobody wants to have. How to talk to your aging parents about preparedness without sounding like a paranoid prepper, because that discussion is harder than any disaster plan. And if you're wondering how much cash you should actually keep in that emergency fund, not just the $200 in your kit, but your real financial buffer, I walk through the math over on my other channel, 50 Cents of Advice. Link in the description. I'm Ernie. This is prepared, not paranoid. Build the plan, skip the panic.